When I first moved to Deer Hollow, I thought I'd left the chaos of city crime behind. But here, in this quiet Appalachian town, the real nightmare doesn't wear a mask, it wears a smile. The locals whisper of ancient laws, things that crawl out of the mist at night, and rules you'd better not break. Because if you do, you don't get arrested, you disappear. I'm a deputy, and even I'm not safe. Asterisk, I had been working in law enforcement for nearly 12 years when I got the offer. A small, quiet town called Deer Hollow, nestled somewhere deep in the Appalachian Mountains, needed a new deputy. The salary was decent, the benefits better than expected, and the population was so small it practically guaranteed a stress-free job. It sounded like paradise compared to patrolling the drug-ridden backstreets of Nashville. I didn't even hesitate to accept the offer, but something about that welcome drive unsettled me. The GPS cut out 2 hours before I arrived. My radio gave nothing but static. There were no signs, no welcome boards, no mileage markers, just winding roads and towering trees that leaned over the blacktop like they were watching me. When I finally passed a weather-beaten wooden archway reading, "Welcome to Deer Hollow. Population." The population part had been scratched out violently. The station was a one-story brick building with fogged-up windows and no lights inside. Sheriff Abe Dalton, a tall man with an eye patch and a jaw that looked like it had been carved from rock, was waiting outside. He didn't shake my hand. He just looked me up and down and said, "You sure you read the terms, son?" I thought it was some kind of small-town formality. I laughed. He didn't. "Out here, we follow rules," he said. "Not laws. Rules. You break the rules, the Hollow breaks you." I didn't understand what he meant until my first night. Patrol. Asked the rules after some routine paperwork. Sheriff Dalton handed me a yellowed, folded piece of paper. It had been typed on an old typewriter and read more like a riddle than anything else that rules for night duty. Deer Hollow Sheriff Station. If the fog rolls in after midnight, ring the chapel bell once. No more, no less. Do not stop for any hitchhikers after 1:33 a.m., even if they wear a deputy uniform. If the radio picks up whispering in a woman's voice, ignore it. Never respond. At 2 a.m. sharp, look in the rearview mirror. If you don't see your reflection, turn back immediately. If you hear the front door of the cruiser open but no one's there, do not look. Just drive fast. Stay out of Hollow Road between 3 to 4 a.m., even if backup is requested. Especially then. I chuckled, thinking it was some elaborate hazing prank. But the sheriff didn't blink. These rules are older than this town. Older than you. Don't treat them like a joke. He left me with the keys and disappeared into his office. That night, I started my first shift, 12 o'clock, 12:04 a.m. Fog had started with a light mist. By 12:04 a.m., it was so thick I couldn't see. More than 2 feet ahead with high beams on. Remembering rule number 1, I radioed in. "Sheriff, we've got thick fog settling in. Visibility's almost zero." Then ring the chapel bell once, deputy. I hesitated. "You're serious?" "Ring it. Once. No more." I found the chapel, a tiny white building tucked between pine trees. The bell tower had a wooden rope hanging down like a noose. I yanked it once. Dong. The sound echoed through the town, low and heavy like something waking up. Then, silence. And just as quickly as it came, the fog receded. Like it was being pulled back by invisible hands. I told myself it was a coincidence. Fog shifts fast in these mountains, right? Prohibited 1:33 a.m. The hitchhiker, it was exactly 1:33 a.m. when I saw him, standing on the roadside, waving slowly. Wearing a tan deputy uniform. Same badge, same hat. His head hung oddly to one side, like his neck had been broken. The cruiser headlights flickered. My radio hissed, "Please, please stop." But I didn't. I sped past in the rear view mirror. He didn't move, just stood there, watching. When I got back to the station at dawn, I asked Sheriff Dalton who else was on night patrol. "No one," he said. "You're the only one on duty, kid." I told him about the hitchhiker. His face turned pale. "You saw Deputy Greaves. He died 15 years ago. Died at 1:33 a.m. Don't ever stop for him. He wants company." Radio 2 o'clock a.m. No reflection on the second night. I almost forgot rule #4 that I was driving past the old sawmill when I glanced at the rearview mirror. Nothing. No trees. No flashing lights. No me. Just emptiness. heart pounding. I threw the car into reverse and took a hard turn back the way I came. As soon as I did, my reflection snapped back into the mirror. I was soaked in sweat. And something else, a dark red smear across my left shoulder, like a handprint, but it wasn't my hand. 3:17 a.m. Hollow Road. I made a mistake. A call came in, screaming, static, and a single word, help. The signal was weak, but I pinpointed it near Hollow Road. I should have ignored it. I turned in. The trees closed in like a tunnel. The temperature dropped. My breath fogged up the windshield. Something ran across the road, on all fours, too fast to be a deer. The cruiser stalled. Something began knocking on the hood that I didn't check. I turned the key, praying. It roared to life, and I reversed the hell out of there. When I checked the dash cam footage the next morning, it was blank from 3:00 to 4:00 a.m., not static, just black. Adult sheaf of rice. The locals, they watch me. Every time I stop for gas or grab a coffee at Edna's Diner, they whisper things. One woman came up to me, hand trembling, and pressed a paper into my palm. It read, "They wear faces that aren't theirs. At night, lock your windows, and never eat the meat pie." I asked Sheriff Dalton about it. He just shook his head. She lost her son to the hollow, took a bite of something he shouldn't have. Now she talks nonsense. But the meat pie at Edna's? I swear it moved on my plate. The third night in Deer Hollow was when everything really began to unravel. I was still clinging to the illusion that if I just followed the rules, I'd make it through, like some kind of supernatural cheat sheet that would keep me alive. But no list of rules could have prepared me for what I found beneath the station. Because the truth is, the rules are only there to slow things down, to keep the monsters hungry, but not full, and someone's been feeding them. New Moon Midnight. The Whispering Cell. It started with Cell 3 that we only had 4 holding cells, and none had been used since I arrived. So I was surprised to hear the lock click and a low humming coming from behind the bars. That I went back to investigate. The door to Cell 3 was closed, but the inside light was flickering like a strobe. Hello. No answer. I approached slowly. Inside was a woman in her 60s, dressed in Sunday clothes, sitting cross-legged on the concrete floor, humming a tune I'd heard once as a child. "You are my sunshine." Her eyes were milk white, like she was blind. "Ma'am, how did you get in here?" She didn't respond. She just looked up at me and whispered, "He keeps them in the basement, but the hollow keeps him." Before I could unlock the door, she screamed. Her face changed. The skin slid off like melting wax, revealing a wide, grinning skull underneath. No eyes, just 2 dark holes that blinked. I stumbled back, reaching for my radio, but before I could speak, she was gone. Just gone. The cell was empty, and the door had never been unlocked. Open file folder. Sheriff Dalton's records room. I didn't sleep that morning. Instead, I went back to the station early and started snooping. Dalton wasn't in yet, and his office was unlocked. Inside was a trapdoor under his desk, cleverly hidden beneath a roll of dirty carpet and stacked case files. No lock. I opened it. A ladder led down into darkness. The air below smelled like rust and rot. I climbed down slowly, flashlight in one hand, service pistol in the other. What I found wasn't a basement. It was a crypt, wooden beams lined with salt, chains bolted into the stone walls, blood-stained bedsheets on rusted cots, strange carvings in the stone that made my stomach twist when I looked too long. And in the center, a steel cage. Inside was something moving, not pacing or panicking, just squirming, like it didn't have bones. I approached, its face pushed up against the bars, my face. "Help me," it whispered. "He locked me down here. I've been here for days." Who are you?" I stammered. "I'm you," it said. "You didn't pass the test." I backed away slowly. A sound echoed behind me. Footsteps. Sheriff Dalton stood at the bottom of the ladder. His shotgun was aimed at me. "You weren't supposed to find this," he said. Firecracker. The truth about Sheriff Dalton. We sat in silence for a long time. He never lowered the shotgun. "That thing in the cage? That's not your double. It's a shadow skin. Been stalking you since your first shift. You didn't bring the fog. It brought you." I asked him why he didn't just kill it. He laughed. A deep, hollow sound. "Because they don't die. Not really. They're bound to this land. We just trap him, feed him rules like bones to a dog. Keep the rituals going." He lowered the shotgun. "You're in it now, deputy. There's no leaving." I asked what would happen if I quit. "The hollow will let you walk out just fine. but it'll follow you home. Next thing you know, your mom's eyes go black, your dog speaks in Latin, and you've got 15 fingers, but only 10 gloves. I believed him. God help me. I did. Candle ritual at dawn. He made me participate in a ritual before I could leave that morning that we drove to the chapel. That he handed me a bag of human teeth and told me to sprinkle them in a circle on the chapel's stone floor. Then we lit 3 candles. 1 black, 1 red, 1 bone white. And in unison, we said, "We keep the rules. We hold the line. Our blood is cold, but this hollow's mine." I asked him what it meant. "It buys us a day," he said. One day, adult sheaf of rice stranger at Edna's. Later that day, I stopped at Edna's diner. A man sat alone in a corner booth. Thin, bald, wearing a smile too wide for his face that he motioned me over. "You're the new one," he said. "How's the hollow treating you?" I stayed silent. He leaned forward and whispered, "Don't follow the rules." My blood turned to ice. "Excuse me. The rules are a test. Obey too long, and you become part of the hollow. Disobey, and you find the truth." I blinked. When I opened my eyes again, he was gone. The waitress said no one had sat there in hours, but the plate in front of the booth, still steaming, and the napkin, it had my name written on it, in blood. They always say a storm is coming before the worst of it hits. But in Deer Hollow, the storm doesn't come from the sky. It comes from within the hills. That it wakes up when the rules are broken, and someone's been breaking them deliberately, setting the hollow free, one rule at a time. Cloud with lightning, 12:06 a.m. The bell rings twice. My nights started with dread already coiled in my gut. The fog came early. By 12:06, I knew what I had to do. Rule number 1. If the fog rolls in after midnight, ring the chapel bell once. No more, no less. But when I got to the chapel, the bell was already swaying, moving gently back and forth, without wind. Dong. Dong, 2 chimes. I froze. No. The second chime echoed through the trees like it was vibrating the bones under the earth. The fog didn't retreat like last time. It thickened. Something moved inside it. Not through it. In it. Like the fog had become a living thing. A shape passed in front of the cruiser headlights. Long limbs, backward knees, and a face that had too many eyes. I hit the gas and got out of there. When I radioed the sheriff, the response wasn't what I expected. "Then it's begun," he said grimly. "We have a rule breaker, and now we have to bury the bell." Open book the history of the rules at 1:30 a.m. The sheriff met me back at the station. He brought with him a journal wrapped in deerskin, pages old and yellowed, written in blood and ash. "This belonged to the first sheriff of Deer Hollow," Dalton said, before it was even called that. He opened to a page with a burned handprint and a date, 1741. The entry read, "The hollow is a hungry god. It takes the shape of man, then beast, then dream. We starve it by giving it pieces, bells, reflections, rituals, rules. Break them, and it wakes. It remembers its name." I asked him what that name was. He slammed the book shut. "We don't say it. Not unless we want it standing behind us." Oncoming police car, 1:33 a.m. A different hitchhiker this time. The hitchhiker wasn't a deputy. It was a little wide no shoes. Pajamas dirty with what looked like motor oil. His head was bent down, black hair hanging low, hands clutching a stuffed rabbit missing. Its eyes. I remembered the rule. Do not stop for any hitchhikers after 1:33 a.m. I slowed to a crawl. But curiosity gripped me. What if it was a real child? I cracked the window just an inch. "Hey kid, you okay?" He looked up. His eyes were entirely black. "You're not supposed to talk to me." The cruiser engine sputtered. Lights blinked. The boy reached out and touched the hood of the car. Everything around me froze. Literally, frost crawled up the inside of the windshield. My breath turned solid in my throat. Even the second hand on my watch stopped. Then he whispered, "He's awake now. The one who walks backwards. The one who wears your skin." He vanished, just blinked out of existence. And my watch? When I checked it again, it now read 3:33 a.m. 2 hours. Gone. Axe Hollow Road revisited. The sheriff called in a code red. "Trespassers on Hollow Road. Don't you dare go alone," he barked. "Wait for me." But I didn't. Not because I was brave. Because I was angry. Tired of being scared. Tired of letting something else control my life. So I went. This time, Hollow Road was even darker. The trees leaned in. The road twisted. I found 2 people there. the preacher's son, and a girl from the high school, naked, pale, covered in strange symbols drawn in black tar. Their eyes were rolled back, and they were chanting in reverse. I stepped out of the cruiser, gun drawn. That's when I heard it. Footsteps from behind me, but every time I turned, nothing, until I looked in the side mirror. Me, but not me. A twisted version, skin stretched too tight, teeth sharp as nails, walking backwards, grinning wide. It waved. I fired 2 shots. The bullets passed through it and shattered the side mirror. That's when the kids turned their heads and screamed in voices that didn't belong to teenagers. I dragged them out, called for backup. The preacher's son died before the ambulance arrived. His skin peeled like it was burnt from the inside. The girl kept whispering, "We rang it twice. We rang it twice. We rang it twice." Coffin the graves beneath the school. Sheriff Dalton finally admitted the truth. The town was built on a mass grave. They never told you that, huh? Who were they? Settlers, witch burners, cultists, you name it. They made a pact with the Hollow centuries ago. Keep the land quiet, and the land gives them peace. But the Hollow doesn't forget. He showed me blueprints of the town, a second map hidden beneath the first. Every modern building is built directly over the ruins, including the school. Why? To keep it trapped. But someone's been trying to set it free. And then, he said something I'll never forget. "You think you got hired because of your resume? The Hollow chose you." The rules were failing. Someone had been undoing them one by one. And now the Hollow wasn't just watching. It was wearing faces. Mine. The sheriff's. Maybe even yours. The Hollow isn't a place, it's a being. And it's awake now. Warning, 12 o'clock a.m. The final rule. The sheriff and I sat on the back steps of the station, watching the fog roll in again, thicker, blacker than ever before. "We're out of time," Dalton said, hands shaking as he lit a cigarette. "There's one last rule. One nobody talks about." "What is it?" I asked. He didn't look at me when he said it. "If you see yourself walking out of the woods after midnight, shoot it. Before it smiles." Evergreen tree, 12:41 a.m. Me. Walking out of the woods. It happened behind the diner. I was walking my usual patrol, trying to stay calm, when I heard twigs snap in the woods nearby. I turned. It was me. Same uniform, same badge, same walk, but the head turned a little too slow. The mouth hung open just a little too wide. And the eyes? They were blank white. I remembered the rule. I raised my gun. "Stop. Hands where I can see him." It didn't stop. It smiled. I fired. It collapsed, twitching on the gravel. When I turned the body over, the face was already changing, morphing into a dozen other faces I recognized. Victims. Strangers. Sheriff Dalton. Then me again. Only now, it whispered. Too late. Radio. The radio broadcast at 1 a.m. Every radio station in town began broadcasting the same sound. A woman crying. Rule number 3. If the radio picks up whispering in a woman's voice, ignore it. Never respond. But this wasn't whispering. This was sobbing. Deep, broken, hopeless. I switched off the radio. It kept playing. Even when the cruiser was off. Even when I ripped out the wiring. And then it changed. Deputy. I turned around. Nothing behind me. Deputy, help me. Please, it's using your face now. I locked the cruiser and walked. I couldn't risk hearing my own voice come out of the radio next. Candle ritual. Circle breach. Back at the chapel, Sheriff Dalton had started preparing another sealing ritual. But something was wrong. The ring of teeth we usually used, scattered, crushed, burned. We've lost containment, Dalton said, backing away from the altar. So now what? I asked. Now we pray it kills us fast. Suddenly, the doors blew open, and the fog walked in. Literally, on long, crooked legs. A figure made entirely of smoke and bone, with faces flickering in and out of its form like souls trapped underwater. It didn't speak. It sang. And in that song was every scream I'd ever heard, every death I'd ever reported, every mistake I'd ever made. Sheriff Dalton shot it in the face. The fog parted, and he was gone. Only his badge remained, floating in the center of the room. Hold the pit beneath Deer Hollow. The fog chased me out of the chapel, but I didn't run blindly. I followed the map from Dalton's journal, the one that showed the hidden tunnels beneath the town. I found the entrance behind Edna's diner, an old mining shaft, sealed shut with chains that had long since rusted away. Inside, it was cold and wet and breathing that I swear the stone walls inhaled and exhaled around me. The deeper I went, the more bones I saw. Dozens. Hundreds. Skulls stacked like bricks. Entire rooms filled with failed deputies, each still in uniform, at the very bottom was a door, carved from black wood, etched with names. So many names. Mine was already on it, and carved fresh. Scroll the Hollow's name inside that door was a chamber lit by 1,000 candles. And at the center was the thing the town had been feeding all these years. It had no eyes, just gaping sockets that leaked shadow. Its fingers were too long. Its voice sounded like a choir speaking backwards. You are the last. What do you want from me? I asked. You will write the rules. I understood then. Every sheriff, every deputy, every rule was an ancient. It was written by the last person who survived, and now it was my turn. What happens if I refuse? Then you take the place of the one in the cage. I remembered what I saw on my first night. Me, trapped, begging to be let out. It wasn't a doppelganger. It was a failed version of me. Point one that broke the final rule. Fire the fire at Deer Hollow. I never made it out of that pit on my own. I don't even remember walking back. I woke up on the floor of the station, Dalton's journal clutched in one hand, and a candle burned all the way down in the other. Outside, the sky was on fire. Every building in Deer Hollow was burning. But the people? They weren't screaming. They were chanting. And they were walking into the flames willingly. Rule breakers, all of them, welcoming the Hollow home. Open book. I wrote new rules. I left Deer Hollow that night. Drove until the gas ran out. But I didn't escape. Not really. Because now I dream in rules. I wake up with them scrawled on my skin. And this morning, my front door was open. On the floor, a folded piece of yellowed paper. Rules for night duty. New location if you smell burning cedar but see no fire. It's already inside. Never respond to knocking that comes from beneath the bed. Don't feed the dog. You don't have one. At exactly 3:33 a.m., check your window. If your reflection is outside looking in, wave. Then hide. If the old rotary phone rings, answer it. No matter what. Even if it begs. You are not real. Not anymore. Asterisk. I didn't win. I didn't survive. I just delayed the Hollow and passed. On the curse. Now, I write the rules. And so will you. Because once you know the rules, you're already part of Deer Hollow. I tried to leave Deer Hollow. I got as far as the next gas station before the road looped back on itself. The signs changed. Route 19 became Hollow Way. And the car GPS showed only one word on screen. Stay. Stop sign. The town that won't let you leave. I tried everything. Back roads, trails, off-grid map apps, even walking through the woods. With a compass, and no matter which way I went, I'd eventually hear the chapel bell ring once, then twice, and I'd stumble right back into the town. Only this time, it wasn't the same Deer Hollow. It was rotting, windows boarded up, streets cracked open like skin with scars underneath. And the people, the few that remained, their eyes were empty, their mouths hung open in permanent screams, and all of them turned to watch me when I walked past. Even the babies. The thing that wears my badge. The sheriff was gone. The real one. But someone, something, still sat in his office, behind his desk. It looked like him. Sounded like him, but its shadow moved on its own. And when I caught a glimpse in the glass reflection, it was me. My body. My face. But it wasn't me. It stood and walked over slowly, whispering, "You were always meant to stay." This badge wasn't a job. It was a sacrifice. I drew my gun and fired 5 rounds into its chest. It didn't flinch. It just held up a mirrored eye in the reflection. I wasn't holding a gun. I was holding a knife. And the thing across from me was tied to a chair, bleeding, crying. Me. The Hollow was trying to switch us. Drop of blood. The mirror room in the basement, under the sheriff's office, was a room I'd never seen before. Not on any blueprint. It was entirely made of mirrors, ceiling, floor, walls. Each mirror showed a different version of me. One with black veins crawling across my face. One in a straitjacket. One with no mouth, just a gaping hole of teeth. One laughing so hard his jaw cracked open. They all pointed at me. Then they spoke in unison. "You are the new rule." And just like that, the floor gave way. Hold a fall into the Hollow. I didn't land on stone. I landed on something soft, flesh. The walls pulsed and bled around me. The tunnels were alive. and something deep within them was waiting. You should not have come back. It said that I was no longer in Deer Hollow, that I was in the hollow itself, a stomach, a mind, a consciousness that IT had pulled me in like it had done with every sheriff before. But I wasn't like them. I still had the journal. And the last page? It said, burn the bell. Say its name, then run. Fire burning the belly made it back to the chapel, barely. The bell tower looked like it had grown taller, like it stretched into the sky unnaturally. The bell was there, warped and steaming. I poured gasoline all over the rope, the floor, the frame. I struck a match. The fire swallowed the chapel in seconds. And the screams from the hollow? They came from under the town, from beneath the graves, from the fog itself. I shouted the name written in the journal, Ogleton Virith. The ground quaked, the fog evaporated, and the hollow screamed like it was dying. Police car light. What happened? After I woke up in a hospital bed, no idea how I got there. The nurse said I'd been found unconscious off a highway 200 miles from Deer Hollow. No ID, just a badge. But when I asked about the town, no one had heard of it. No records, no maps, not even a postal code. But I know it happened, because that night, I found something on the nightstand. Asterisk, it was the journal. Dalton's journal, still scorched on the edges, and inside, a new page, handwritten in my own handwriting, though I never wrote it.